All right, so very good evening to all the students and the distinguished panelists present here. So we group 37 Green City Prakriti will present today. So the reason for keeping, what was the reason for keeping our name, the name of our city Prakriti? So Prakriti, the ancient Sanskrit word, simply meaning nature. But here nature doesn't only mean any kind of the environmental nature, it also refers to one's psychological and physical state of mind. So here, nature symbolizes an interconnectedness between all the core aspects of sustainability, that is taking care of Mother Earth and also improving the social and economic aspects for the betterment of people. Our city strives to fulfill each of these aspects and is therefore named Prakriti. So these are our four team members. So we have Navya, Bhanvi, I, and Sachal. And next slide. Yeah, so basic information on Prakriti. The area of Prakriti will be 500 square kilometers. The population will be approximately 5 lakh residents. We have tried to keep an ideal population density of 1,000 citizens per square kilometers. This is the website for our green city, and the link will also be posted in the chat box by Navya. So basics criteria for judging a green city. So we decided upon 17 criteria upon which we would work on. And the fundamental criteria were decided by reading out various arrangements such as the European Green List City Award and other awards on our Moodle website. So we brought down to these 17, which includes various aspects relating to society, economy, and environment, of course. So this is the basic non-to-scale layout. And what was the reason behind keeping this layout? So you can see that our city is landlocked on one side. We assumed it is landlocked. It has a coastline on the other side. We assume that there would be enough sunlight and wind energy. So you can see that we have kept the factories away from the residential complexes. We have kept the research and development near the energy farms so as to provide a direct source of energy. And there are four central parks located near each of the four main residential complexes. There is also a river which flows through the main city, and this all of these areas have recreational activities, markets, city centers, etc. So this was the basic key of our map. Moving further, we have energy production. So it would be via four natural sources of energy. We kept so many geographical features to make sure that we are easily able to utilize many sustainable forms of energy, research on them more, and even work on them, making them more efficient. So there would be piezoelectric energy, solar energy, thermal energy, wind energy, and hydroelectricity. So thermal energy is not a sustainable form of energy, but 10% of it is kept as a form of backup in case any other system fails. So solar energy, we all know the obvious advantages of solar energy. It is a type of energy which can be made better and better through better research, and we obviously use the latest technologies such as the solar cells following the direction of sunlight. Piezoelectric energy, 10% of piezoelectric energy is devoted in our city, and this is mainly used to fulfill to or cater to small amounts of energy. And this has already been implemented by the East Japan Railway Company and under the roads of Israel. So wind energy, so we all know that wind energy had its own advantages, but we have kept three new features to maintain the wind farms. One, drones and AI equipments which contain spectroscopes to detect any cracks or damage in the windmills. So these are wind blowers. So if any birds or any other kind of flying species come near it, they push air to blow them off, and therefore they prevent damage of the windmills and the loss of biodiversity. So we have hydro and tidal energy. Tidal energy and hydro energy. So one would ask that why we have kept dams. So the dams will essentially not lead to much destruction of the environment because the size of the dam is comparatively small. But then the question arises, how will the dam be efficient? So we will keep more efficient turbines that can harness lower water levels and can avoid the pitfalls associated with mega dams. These dams will be fish friendly, and constant inspection would be done to prevent any loss in biodiversity or vegetation. Next, we have biodiversity. The forest will only be accessible to the people with the permission of authorities. We will make sure that the sea routes developed are not at any place which have high concentration of wildlife, marine wildlife. We will promote the culture of lab-grown meat. This has several advantages such as better low carbon footprint, low torture to animals. One question which arises here is that what about the people who have lost their jobs? So we'll give the same people jobs in the factory which produce the lab grown meat, thus catering to the problem as well. Domestic animals will only be kept for obtaining products like milk. However, since people of different ethnicity and cultures will be living in our city, which do require to eat normal meat, a fresh stock of meat will always be available. So there would be a stock of butterflies and bees for pollination as well. Green solutions. So we need to make the city green, and therefore we need to have some features regarding the same. So far, we have tried to keep a large amount of flora, but the thing is that the trees or the plants which we have chosen not only make the city green, they have their own bonus points as well. For example, willow trees act as blockers of wind. The eucalyptus tree act as cleaners of the system, and they absorb the essential nutrients from the sewage water. They will be grown near these sewage plants. And noise pollution plants such as hollies and junipers will be grown around the roads and factories in order to absorb noise. Caliper or calitree trees can reduce the consumption of or the uses of air conditioner by 50%, as mentioned in this link below, and as they are able to cool down the environment. So waste management. So for wastewater, we will use the process of dissolved air flotation. It is one of the most efficient methods and has several advantages. And for our, this is the main diagram of how the dissolved air flotation works. And for our industrial and domestic waste, we'll use plasma gasification. Plasma gasification is really efficient for domestic waste management. It does not lead to the production of any harmful gases. Hydrogen and carbon monoxide are released, but they are collected and then can be used in industries. The industrial waste would be treated first, it would be made stable, and then would be sent in the plasma gasification plant for better implementation. This is the main diagram of how it works. Disaster management. Since we assumed that our city would have a lot of geographical features, we made sure that we would be prepared for natural calamities. So the buildings will have earthquake resistant features, and the same will be included in training in polytechnics, and schools will include disaster related topics such as education awareness. Floods. So the basic floods such as levees and bunds and reservoirs will be used. The safety equipment will always be available with the residents, and drills will be carried out as well. Sustainable urban mobility. So we will have dedicated bicycle tracks. We will have an app to do the same. And so one feature which we took inspiration from was from Netherlands. They identified the busy biking roads in the city, the ones which had a lot of cyclists, and converted them into solar powered bike paths. So they can be used to power small equipment such as street lights, and thus is another sustainable way of producing energy. This is the application interface which we designed of the main transportation app of our city. But buses would cover the smaller distances. They would be solar powered, and an alternative of CNG will always be available in case the weather is not doing well. And CNG is another efficient form of energy. So underground trains, they will be running on maglev system inspired from the country of Japan. Mobility system details. So even the electric cars and the cabs will not be charged using electric power stations. They will utilize solar energy to charge them. There's a hyperlink provided to how this is done as well. Health. So health would comprise of both governmental and private enterprises. The drones will be used for the delivery of medicines. There will be partnerships between government and private hospitals to support each other during times of emergency. The hospitals would have a large area, therefore providing enormous potential for in-house solar energy utilization. However, a backup of electricity by thermal energy would be present, and adequate cost cutoffs would be provided. Ambulances will have a special route which will work on magnetic levitation to allow uninterrupted movement. There will be human intervention will always be there, along with AI and machine learned equipment developed by the R&D department. Education. So we have again taken inspiration from several countries, and they will obviously have a good amount of co-curricular sports and academics. For example, the inspiration is vocational training courses or a happiness curriculum inspired from India. Similarly, Germany always tries to keep a lot of green spaces around their school, making the environment more open, clean, and green. So the school will also be there for different languages and dialects, depending upon the ethnicity of the population. Design. So since we had a huge area and an adequate population density, this allows us to cut off skyscrapers from our city and spread the whole city with 3 to 4 story buildings. This would prevent concentration of people and traffic at one place. Small curtains. These are under the small detail which can be used to make our city better. So there would be smart curtains which adjust themselves according to the movement of sun, as you can see in these pictures, which maximize the entrance of light, minimize the entrance of heat, again reducing consumption of cooling systems such as ACs. Then we have permeable pavements to store groundwater, fill up the aquifers, which can be used for future use. Then we have rainwater harvesting. The conventional method will be followed, but we have some better features as well. as well. For example, digital pH indicators to notify for any contamination, water alarms to notify when the tank is full to prevent stagnation. They can provide the water to the government as well, so they can be used for further treatment. And swimming pools will also act at the same when they're not in use. Garbage trucks, self-driven, will be present, and drones with a storage, camera and sensor, robotic hands, we have designed this on our own, will be present around the city to inspect it twice a day. Industry will be the near the energy production farms to provide low uh, energy shipment costs, and they would be away from the residential areas to avoid disturbance. We designed this bot on our own, Hafler 22, which can 3D print anything anywhere, and at the same time it can carry stuff around with its robotic hands and grabbers. And the state would undertake the production of equipment and safety gear, which will have twofold benefits. One, the private companies won't be able to exploit the workers with expensive safety equipment. And second, we can use new innovations developed by the state, that tough biomass and organic material to make biosuits, which are used for light purposes. Next, we have food production. Permaculture is the main method through which we produce food. It has several techniques which can be decided upon depending upon the type of weather and the crops grown, which includes all of this. Cover crops will be planted and be promoted, and as they suppress the growth of weeds, they reduce the need for chemical fertilizers, and are also beneficial to the farmers. Farms will be solar powered. Research and development will be an important sector in our city. It will be developed into 3 areas: storage, central laboratories, and test areas. We designed this on our own. This is the central labs. 3 or 4 will be present there. Storage, maintenance, and power areas. Artificial man-made lakes and barren land, or where forest where biodiversity is not present, for testing or to say for deposit harmful chemicals. Government institutions. So as you saw, we have taken inspiration from several countries, tried to reduce social income inequalities, and we will surely do so. We will start from the very basic level, see the formation of youth action hubs as advised by the UNCTAD, where students take charge and help their own city and country achieve SDGs. So from the very basic step to very advanced steps, such as following the WHO guidelines or the UN guidelines. Public well-being and facilities, markets, lounges, community centers, public drinking water, dustbins, public compost pits is a new feature where the manure supplied can be distributed to the agricultural estates. Machines like reverse vending machines, taken inspiration from the European countries. Parks, there will be 4 central parks as we saw in the map before, and smaller parks will be in proximity to all the residents. So this would, we would have excellent hospitality. We would have these video display units present everywhere in order to cater to the needs of the people. Climate change. So climate change is not a local phenomenon. We have seen that it happens globally and affects all the coastal areas and other areas present in the world. So we have to prepare for 3 major things: floods, storms, and harm to marine life, because these are the 3 major effects of climate change on coastal areas. So we already told you the pre-preparedness and mitigation plans of floods in the slides before. For storms, we researched and kept these 4 to 5 features for the houses which prevent the damages caused by the storms, and they are able to withstand it. For harm to marine life, so this is a new feature. So there will essentially be a pump hose located at the banks of the sea. This would aerate the sea with air. This would help in faster evaporation and escape of heat. So the temperature of the air would also help in bringing down the whole temperature of the sea. This can be used, these pumps can be set up at small distances to cater to a small radius of seawater. So the last topic in our presentation is water scarcity solutions. So water scarcity, the major factor which is affecting each and every place in the world today. We have assumed that our city will be on the coastline, and therefore we would want to utilize the seawater present there. So the main factor so there are 2 ways with which we can treat the seawater, and one which there can be reverse osmosis, and there can be thermal method. Thermal method essentially takes up a lot of energy, so we won't prefer it. So we will treat the seawater with the process of reverse osmosis, which is still in development. And we will also try to cater to every problem of reverse osmosis. So we accept that according to CNBC, for every liter of water purified, there is 1.5 liters of brine produced. Brine is essentially a highly concentrated mixture of salt and water. Countries generally dispose of this brine to the sea, thinking that adding salt to salt won't do anything. But as the salt level is not balanced in the sea, it harms the marine species. The salt also sinks to the floor of the city, thus causing an effect to microorganisms. So to cater to this, before disposing of the brine, we will use it for, so the last slide, we will use it for 2 purposes. One, we would sell the salt obtained by the brine to these industries or places outside our city, thus promoting trade relations. We can use it as a raw material in our own cities as well. And another inspiration from the country of Denmark is that this salt can also be used to produce electricity, as shown in the diagram. This has already been tested by Denmark and has already been worked upon by the MIT Technology Review. And this is the diagram which shows the same. So this was our overview of a green city and our presentation. I would really like to thank all of my teammates, the whole GRUEN staff, my school, and obviously Dr. Brand Knudsen, who motivated us throughout the project and acted as a very great mentor. So thank you so much. And thank you for being such a patient audience.